Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
All right, very excited to have Mark Medina from USA Today Sports on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You've covered a lot of the NBA. So you've been in Golden State.
Yeah.
And then you were with the Lakers?
Yeah, I was 2010, I was covering the Lakers as a blogger for the LA Times. 2012, still with the Lakers, but as a beat writer with the LA Daily News. And then the year following Kobe Bryant's last year with them, went up to the Bay Area, covered the Warriors for Bay Area News Group for 2 years, and now I'm back here in LA as a national writer with USA Today. So there's a lot of things going on in LA, obviously, this year with the Lakers and Clippers. So I'll go there a lot for both teams, visiting teams coming in, but I'll do some trips around the Western Conference as well.
Yeah, so you covered nationally the NBA.
Yeah.
So you've had you similar to me, have been very lucky with the teams that you've gotten to cover.
Yeah.
Because I started in Miami, and I pretty much started in the business right before LeBron came to Miami. And so I got to cover the Heatles for those 4 years, which was incredible. And then, now I'm in LA. So yeah, sometimes you get lucky like that. You don't have to go to Albuquerque. Yeah.
You know what? Preparation meets opportunity.
Yes,
right?
it does.
So all
I went to
well-deserved
school.
on your
I went to
end,
school in Miami. I did my internships and worked for free for a year. But yeah, that does happen. No diss to Albuquerque, by the way. Wonderful place. I've never been, but I've heard some things. Actually, I have friends that live in Albuquerque. Now that I think about it, they just moved there. Anyway, so the Lakers obviously are pretty much the number one story in the league right now. And the latest was that LeBron is the happiest he's ever been with management in his career, which obviously hurts my feelings because I worship at the throne of Pat Riley, who is the godfather of the NBA. But they did have some issues there, and he had some issues with Spoelstra and such, and we all know what happened with Cleveland. But what being around the team is the biggest difference with the front office this year? Because obviously last year it was a bleep show, if we're being serious.
I mean, honestly, the main difference is Magic Johnson isn't there, right? And I think, in fairness to him, you have to give him credit that for all his warts and criticisms of, his commitment to the job and the dynamic between he and Rob Pelinka, I mean, he was the person that brought LeBron James here. I mean, he is the one that had the meeting with LeBron, sold him on the vision. But I think with Rob Pelinka having an elevated role, I think there's a debate still of how good is he as a GM. You have to give him credit for obviously getting Anthony Davis here. And I think that to their credit, he made up for some of the mistakes last year where they didn't have the right supporting cast to help LeBron. I think here they've had much better bench pieces, but it's still early. But I think regardless of that, there's not as many competing agendas, different voices. There's more synergy, and I think that has affected the organization mostly for the good, where there's not as much of that Lakers soap opera that we're so used to seeing. I think you also have to credit the coaching staff. Frank Vogel, a very accomplished head coach, an experienced head coach in the NBA, but the reality is he wasn't the Lakers' first choice, and one of the candidates was Ty Lue, who coached LeBron in Cleveland, and that fell apart for various reasons. So he was coming into the job, kind of having to prove himself, and he immediately showed his chops, and a lot of the guys from LeBron 80 down have been completely buying in.
Yeah, I think Frank Vogel is actually kind of an underrated storyline this year because all anyone could talk about is just what a setup it was that Frank Vogel was being hired, because it's like clearly they're just hiring him, and then LeBron's going to have some major problems with him, and then Jason Kidd is going to just slowly up the bench right to that spot. Frank Vogel's going to be fired midseason, and I think that he's done a really good job, and I wasn't sure how that was going to play out because it is a lot to coach LeBron James, and that's not LeBron James's fault. It's a lot to deal with anyone who is the biggest star in the entire world. That's just how it goes. And I think Frank Vogel's done a great job.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that he fully understands is, I think there's a huge narrative, especially around the NBA when it comes to the superstars of, how much personalities are there and egos, and certainly that's prevalent. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of these players just simply want to see a coach that knows what he's talking about, and it does his homework, prepares, puts them in a position to succeed. So when it comes to Frank Vogel, it's like, how does he get the guys to buy in? Like, he can't try to act cool or give these really nice speeches. It's just about doing your homework, showing that you're prepared. And when the guys see that you are putting that work, you know what you're talking about, and your ideas have played out on the court, that's when the buy-in process starts to happen.
So there was a little bit of chatter last week before the trade deadline that Kuzma was possibly going to be moved. I'm a huge Kuzma fan. One, I like personalities, and he's got the whole look. Like,
you're an Eminem fan, is what you're saying.
I was very excited to see Eminem at the Oscars. I thought that was a wonderful twist. Like I think Kuzma kind of fits the team. I also like that he's young, and I do think that you do need, while obviously they're trying to win now, you do somewhat need to invest in the youth of your organization. So I did not like the idea of moving Kuzma at all, and I'm very glad that they didn't. But what's the resistance with Kuzma? Not that he was going to be moved because he's not good, but like there seems to be this argument that he doesn't fit with this team.
Yeah, well, I think because of his injuries, he was trying to play catch up with getting himself in a rhythm. It is a different role that he had to get accustomed to with coming off the bench and not having the same kind of scoring role that he had in previous seasons. And, some of his consistency with his outside shooting has been suspect. I mean, basically, you've seen, to use this Eminem analogy, you've seen like the Slim Shady version of Marshall Mathers' LP Eminem show, which is good.
Right.
And then sometimes Kuzma's shown the Eminem of, encore and relapse, and that's not great, right? So
What a great analogy.
I think with that, there's been optimism that some of it's circumstantial. He's still young, and so he's in that kind of gray area where, hey, he's not established enough that we're going to make him untouchable. We'll still entertain offers, see what's available, but it's not to the point where they're thinking, hey, we got to get rid of him, whatever it takes. And I think the Lakers made the right move. I think that there is still upside. He has shown in the last month he's improved. And then I think with the bigger picture, one of the things that I think has really played in the Lakers' favor is that his hiccups aside and Rajon Rondo's hiccups aside, their chemistry as five-man units have been really good.
Yeah.
And I think they were leery of breaking up those combinations to then get into a process of having to integrate a new guy, seeing what the best lineups are for that, and then all of a sudden it might affect the standings and just their overall comfort level heading into the playoffs.
Would you call him the third guy?
I think by default from a scoring load.
Because I feel like the third guy with LeBron always gets this treatment. And it's like Bosh, and it's Kevin Love. And obviously Bosh and Kevin Love are on a different level right now, obviously, than Kuzma would be in that spot. But like it's like the third guy with LeBron always kind of gets the shot.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Joy. And I equate some similarities to that. That like those guys who are even more established went through hiccups of finding their way. But as far as being a third guy, I think from a scoring standpoint, sure. But as far as the pecking order on the team, I think you've seen it's clearly LeBron and AD, and then it's been a wild card. Sometimes you've seen Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee be those defensive rim protectors and rebounders. Sometimes you've seen Avery Bradley to really set the example on the perimeter. And then sometimes you've seen, hey, it's Danny Green just hitting a bunch of three-pointers. So I don't think that from a team depth chart, Kyle Kuzma's the third guy, but technically he is from a numbers scoring standpoint.
Yeah, and I always feel bad for those guys. Because, at least in Miami, like, Bosh would always kind of get a lot of slack from the rest of the country. We always protect it. You got to protect Chris Bosh. He's a good dude. All right, so then the other option out there, or rumor, is that Dion Waiters could possibly be an addition to the Lakers. Now, he had some issues with the Heat, obviously. Only played 3 games this year. I don't really know what happened in Miami there, but whatever. I like Dion Waiters. I think he's a playmaker. He's obviously not as consistent as you would like, but I don't think that that's really his role on a team. So do you think he fits with the Lakers, or that would be a good choice for them?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the Lakers are always about doing due diligence, just like a lot of good NBA teams are. So I don't think they're shutting anything out. But the reality is they have a 15-man roster. So if they're going to make any sort of moves, they have to waive someone.
Right.
I think the second thing is the Lakers might have a really good culture, but so did Miami.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Lakers have shied away of picking up players with question marks. I mean, Dwight Howard is a perfect example that the Lakers know from firsthand experience that, look, there's a lot of baggage that comes with having Dwight on your team, and he showed through his actions and the fact that it was a non-guaranteed contract that they won't tolerate that. But I think it goes back to the larger point of the Lakers have built such great chemistry already. I don't feel like they're going to get to the point where they feel like it's worth to potentially disrupt that. Are
they good enough to make it to the finals, though?
Yeah. Right now, I give the edge to the Lakers over the Clippers.
Why?
I think there's better chemistry. I think that there's been more opportunities because they're healthier for guys to play together. That being said, these two teams, since the jump, have been on a parallel track to then have a collision course. And so going into the season, I thought the Clippers had the edge because they have more depth. I thought some of the continuity that they had with the bench would go into play of minimizing the integration and familiarity, and I haven't seen that as much as I thought it would be. Part of it was expected because Paul George missed the first 11 games.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard wound up missing some games, but there were some other injuries with some of the other supporting cast that made it harder to find the right lineup combinations that Doc Rivers likes, and also to have practice time. So I think they're behind the 8 ball, but the good thing for the Clippers is they still have a month and a half. But I will stress, like, either way, here's what it's going to come down to. Whichever team's healthiest, obviously, but the second thing is these regular season matchups, I don't take anything out of them, and it goes beyond, it's the regular season. The first opening night, I give it to the Clippers. They brought it, even without Paul George. Like, the Lakers weren't ready to play. Christmas Day game, Kawhi technically outplayed LeBron, but I think you have to consider that LeBron had been carrying a heavier workload during that month. Not to say that he was getting run into the ground, but I think it was the other extreme where Kawhi was sitting out every other game. He was more rested. And if you're going to get into this compare and contrast of who's the better player, Kawhi had 13 games before that where he shot below 50%. He's had his fair share of not good games either. So I think because of that, you almost wipe those out, and it's really going to come down to some of these things are obvious, but it just is what it is. It's going to be health, number one, and then number two, how well do the duos play collectively, and then the third part is all these supporting cast role players, to what extent are they going to be the best version of themselves? And as of right now, the Lakers have shown the advantage with that, but still a month and a half for that to get correct.
Yeah, I don't put too much into the regular season either when it comes to teams that are at this level. But okay, so slipping over to the Eastern Conference, obviously the Bucks are running through everybody. I don't know what it is about the Bucks, but I'm just not 100%.
You're not feeling them?
Look, I love Giannis. Okay, and I love Giannis.
And that's it. You don't like Chris Middleton?
Yes, no, I think Chris Middleton is a nice player. But is he? Are the Bucks good enough to beat the Lakers or the Clippers? Like, even healthy? I don't think so.
Yeah, and I don't take much away from it because it's regular season. They have beaten them. I think they have a clearer path to the finals because of the East. Now, I say that with full respect that I think Toronto's a really good team. I think Miami's getting even better. Jimmy Butler's been great. Getting Andre Iguodala is going to do wonders. But I feel like just league-wide, Clippers, Lakers, Lakers, Clippers, however you want to flip it, there is such a divide between those two teams and everyone else.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's necessarily an indictment on Milwaukee per se. I think that they can build off of last year where they ran to a buzzsaw with the Raptors. I think Giannis kind of had that rite of passage that a lot of young NBA stars do, where you had that first taste of playoff experience, and now you know what it's like to face a really good team that has time and preparation to scheme for you in a full playoff series. And I think that woke him up a little bit. That woke up the coaching staff to really add even more skill sets to his game. So I think they're fine, but Lakers, Clippers they have way too much, and it's such a discrepancy compared to the rest of the league.
Yeah, so like when I look at the Bucks and the talent, and it's not that they aren't a talented team, obviously they are. And Giannis is a monster, as we know.
Yeah.
But it's just like Giannis and Chris Middleton, right?
Yeah.
Or Kawhi,
Eric Bledsoe's all right,
and Paul George.
But you can't compare.
But I'm just taking the top two. Like, yeah, like they do have talent, like obviously. But yeah, I mean, in a 7-game series, like I can't do it. And to be honest with you, like you said, I really don't know. Like, I like the Raptors, but the Raptors always do this. They always have awesome regular seasons, and they're crushing right now. And I respect that organization a lot. I picked them to win last year. So, but
You
for real,
caught
like
it,
I do, because listen, I love Kawhi. Kawhi is that dude to me. Like, if I have to pick anyone in the whole league, I really think I'm really picking Kawhi, and that's over LeBron. And I know that sounds crazy, but he's that dude. And I don't care about load management and all that. Like he showed last year taking like he won a championship for an entire country. So nobody else can say that.
For sure.
So to me, like I like the Raptors regular season. I think and I know I'm being biased, but the Heat has some shit with them. That's like old school Pat Riley Heat basketball. Mean. You got Jimmy Butler out here openly recruiting Joel Embiid. Like that they're different this year and they're going to get better. And the Celtics too. Yeah. Like I think that the first 2 rounds Milwaukee will have no problem, but I don't know about the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I like the Celtics. And I think, there was so much going on last year with Kyrie, and I say this knowing how good of a player Kyrie is, but there's no way around it. He wasn't a good leader with that team. And
no,
I
it
think
didn't fit. It wasn't the right
there's
fit.
a better fit this year, and there's a lot more continuity. I just think the X factor is Giannis. I still give the edge to LeBron over Kawhi just because he's been able to be healthier and more consistently durable. But I think when you're talking about Milwaukee and really everyone else in the NBA, I haven't seen signs this season that LeBron's slowing down. To his credit, I think he benefited last year of missing 27 games, resting up, kind of using that last season as motivation of missing the playoffs for the first time. I think
and
for
the
him
extra time
since 2006, and the extra time to recover. But there's going to be a window that's closing for him. I mean, there's no skirting around. He's 35, 17th season. So as much as I don't want any NBA team to just, hey, bide your time, just stay put, there is still that avenue for Milwaukee to be able to strike, maybe not this season, but next season or the following season, where they do have that chance because the Lakers' window is so small.
Wow. Do they have that chance? Because Giannis is going to be a free agent, and if they continue to get right there and not win, is he going to stay?
Nothing is ever guaranteed in today's NBA, but if I had to bet, I think Giannis is going to stay in Milwaukee. I don't think it's going to be similar, regardless of the fact that the Warriors are going to be aggressive. They're going to align themselves from a cap standpoint and just asset standpoint to be able to make that deal or when he becomes a free agent. But I don't think that what Milwaukee or what Giannis is facing in Milwaukee was comparable to what Kevin Durant was facing in Oklahoma City.
No, or LeBron in Cleveland.
Right, exactly. So I think knowing, I don't cover Giannis on a day-to-day basis, but just following the team from afar and talking to people who know around the NBA, there's a real feeling that he's staying in Milwaukee. But that being said, I mean, there's just never any guarantees in the NBA. And that doesn't even have to just do with free agency. I mean, it's injuries and just everything else that, can really tilt the scale one way or the other.
I think a lot could happen. I don't think that they're going to win the championship this year. And then moving into next year. And look, Milwaukee's a well-run organization. So it's not like it's Cleveland where it's just
a hot mess.
Or it's Miami where you're under the biggest amount of pressure that anyone has ever faced, really, even more than what was going on in Golden State with Kevin Durant, because everyone hated the big three in Miami. But I just think that, like you said, right now, Giannis does not have a whole lot of pressure on him. But if they make it again and he doesn't win again, that might just turn up a little bit because eventually, you know how we are. Like eventually, they're gonna be like, okay, like Giannis is great, but he never wins. Like he's great in the regular season, and he's the Greek freak and he's fun and everyone loves him, and I love Giannis, but like he never wins. That's gonna become the thing, and then that pressure is going to raise up. And to me, I don't have a problem with guys moving because of that. Like we have this measurement that we're the finish line's always moving for what the greatest is, or you have to be the greatest. And it's all about competition.
Right.
So I do think that narrative could switch very quickly if that continues to happen for Giannis.
Yeah, for sure. And as unfair as I think kind of that rings debate goes into play, because it's not even just that player's greatness and his drive and will. There's so many outside factors and how well the organization's run. But I think to your point, like I never faulted Kevin Durant for leaving the Thunder for the Warriors, because I think you should give a lot of credit to him and the Warriors that, hey, they valued winning. And as much as you look on paper, they are just stacked with future Hall of Famers. There has been a lot of times in the history of the NBA where that resulted in a lot of competing agendas, egos clashing, and nothing was perfect there by any means, especially that last season. But I think the underrated part of the Warriors and Kevin Durant is that they integrated Kevin in a way that maximized what he brought as Kevin Durant without diluting the identity that made Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Andre Iguodala so good. And, that whole narrative, oh, you just roll the ball out and it's easy. No, that took a lot of work and sacrifice and kind of X's and O's to make sure everyone was feeling like the team's the best version of themselves without individuals feeling like they're on the short end of the stick.
Yeah, I mean, that's just silly. Like, that's silly fan stuff. And I'm very pro fan.
Right.
Like, we whatever. We don't, and none of us really know anything, all right? Like, we're not on the sideline drawing up plays and stuff. But the idea that Kevin Durant just showed up and there was an automatic championship. They didn't win every year with Kevin Durant there. Like, the Warriors didn't win the year before he came. Like,
right.
it's not an automatic thing.
Right.
And that's what happened in Miami with the Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. Like, they didn't win the first year. Of course they're not going to win the first year. Like, it takes time to do all this. It helps. You're going to have talent. You're going to make the finals. But championships are championships for a reason. They're hard to win.
Yeah, for
not
sure.
the only talented people in the league. Okay, so before I let you go, what was supposed to be the biggest story of the year was Zion Williamson, and unfortunately didn't quite start out that way. And then he had a sprained ankle and missed the last game. He's supposed to play against the Blazers tonight. But do you have any concerns about Zion, like that he's going to be able to get his body on the right track?
I think it's certainly a lot of fair questions. I talked with some outside medical people who didn't see Zion or treat him directly, but just knowing the nature of his injury, there are some that are wondering, okay, like, is this the sign of many things to come? But that being said, Joy, the people on the Pelicans end and also around the NBA, they really feel like the fact that he missed so much time this season really enabled the Pelicans to correct his movement patterns and improve his range of motion. And it really didn't have much to do with, his weight or how big he is. Of course, they wanted Zion to slim down his body fat just for his own conditioning. But it was really that his range of motion was just so tight. And with that being so tight, that was leading to more knee injuries, more ankle injuries. So I think, you should be cautious when you have an ankle injury here or there, but I think that's going to be more the norm of if he is hurt, it's these minor ailments that take him out a few games here or there. But I don't think that there's going to be that major injury that takes him out for half a season or even beyond, because I think that they use that time wisely to correct all those movement patterns that I think contributed to the previous injuries at Duke, at Summer League, and during preseason play.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, obviously we were all rooting for Zion going into the season,
of
but
course.
John Morant's had an incredible season.
Unbelievable.
I love John Morant. I need to get a jersey. Those jerseys are hard.
Yeah.
Those Grizzlies jerseys. I gotta get matching sneaks though.
They've been selling out. You can't get them anywhere?
No, I just need to do it.
Okay. You're busy.
Yeah, eventually. I'm laying on the couch doing nothing. I'll order one. Thank you so much for joining us. It was really fun.
Yeah,
We'd
thank
love
you
to
for
have
having
you
me.
again. Lots of good NBA nuggets.
Always love it.
We'll
Always
love to have
love
you on
it.
later in the season.
Sounds
Appreciate
good.
it. And you can follow Mark at MarkG_Medina on Twitter, so you get more NBA nuggets from him. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. Appreciate the plug.
Thanks.